I never thought about the universe, it made me feel small. Never thought about the problems of this planet at all. Global warming, radioactive sites, imperialistic wrongs, and animal rights. No!
Hello, this is Bill Quinn. It is April 21st, 2015. This is episode 2 of the Bill Quinn Podcast. The whole podcast is about nonprofit events and organizations that are working in New York City. Today, I'm going to be playing an interview that I had with the passionate and remarkable Angela Torregoza from the Sex Worker Project. We had a long conversation about many of the issues that sex workers face and how the Sex Worker Project is helping this very marginalized group. We also discussed their upcoming networking and fundraising event on June 11th, opportunities to get involved with the work, and some suggestions that Angela has for other nonprofits. And with that, here is my interview with Angela. So I'm here with Angela Torregoza from the Sex Worker Project. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming on. So let's get right into it. So can you tell me a little bit about your organization and how you got involved? How you got involved with the Sex Worker Project and what they do? What kind of work do they do?
Great. So basically, I'm a volunteer at the Sex Workers Project, which is a nonprofit organization that provides legal and social services for former, current sex workers, as well as victims of trafficking. So basically, I got involved in the Sex Workers Project actually before law school. During college, in order to survive, I worked as a dominatrix, and I approached the Sex Workers Project to assist me in my legal case. And they were very client sensitive, and I really felt like, they were so non-judgmental, and they really helped me tremendously. And so after the dust settled and my case was resolved, I thought that, it made me really think about what I wanted to do in my life. And I decided that I wanted to be an advocate for others with similar experiences. And so I went to law school to become an attorney. And during law school, I interned at the Sex Workers Project.
So it sounds like the Sex Worker Project does both advocacy work and also does work helping people who are in the sex worker industry. So is it doing two things at the same time, or is it doing more things?
So basically, the organization believes in a very holistic approach to helping their clients. So, a lot of the clients actually need both legal and social services. For example, they need help with their current criminal case. Also, the Sex Workers Project helps trafficking victims vacate their prostitution convictions as a result of trafficking. So, in order for them to, it's really helping them to move on with their lives if they do decide to leave sex work. But what's really unique about Sex Workers Project is that they assist any individual who comes to the organization asking for help, whether they do so by choice, circumstance, or coercion. So, there's no basically, this is an organization that doesn't pressure them into, giving up the life, if they're not ready. Because, we recognize that, not everyone is able to do that right away when they're not ready, when they have no social services. That's why the Sex Workers Project also help clients with social services, counseling, and really just connecting them to organizations or services that will help them survive while they're working or when they choose to leave the industry.
So on top of every other difficulty that nonprofits work with low money and outreach and all these other problems. We had talked a little bit about, on top of all those things that make an organization kind of struggle, you have this stigma kind of attached not only to the people that you're trying to help, but also just your nonprofit in general. It's kind of has a stigma that might come with it that also makes it difficult to get people involved or to donate. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Right. So, until fairly recent, actually, like, organizations such as Sex Workers Project were not eligible for government funding because of the anti-prostitution pledge that these organizations were, I guess, were forced to sign. Basically, these funding organizations are prohibited from putting money into organizations that help sex workers. However, that's recently changed, and now I think with the awareness about sex trafficking and really just how important that issue is to it has helped organizations such as Sex Workers Project to get the funding that they needed, because, as you said, a lot of organizations that help marginalized individuals, like they have, such as sex workers, they have this added stigma. They're helping sex workers who in our society are one of the most marginalized segments in our society. And they really, at that point, they really lack funding already. No one really wants to, give money to them. And then the government even doesn't provide money. So, it's like you said, it's like an added hurdle to all the challenges, the many challenges of managing a nonprofit or sustaining a nonprofit.
So you have a fundraising event coming up on June 11th.
Yes.
So what is it, and how can people? Tell me a little bit about it. Where is it going to be? And just give us some of the details about what you're doing.
Yay! So basically, people can go on the Sex Workers Project website, which is sexworkersproject.org, and they can donate on that page. They can also find the link to the event, which is called Empower 2015, and this will be on June 11th. At Taj 2 in Meatpacking, Taj Lounge on 48 West 21st Street. So we have early bird tickets until April 23rd. So if you're sure that you're going to come, buy it right away.
Excellent. So I'm going to end with one last question, which is, from everything that you've done, all the years that you've been working with the nonprofits, what is something that you can kind of pass on to other people who are in the nonprofit industry or looking to get into the nonprofit industry? What's something that you could share?
I think it would be really two things. One would be to, just the importance of building a coalition and really engaging people that, for example, even people or organizations that you don't necessarily think would, would support your cause, but really I guess showing people the big picture as to why they should support your cause. For example, with the No Condoms is Evidence bill, we engaged health organizations because really this is a public health issue, and we engaged other advocates. And so I think that's very important when for example, when you're advocating for certain policies, is to really paint the big picture and get a lot of people involved in your cause. And the second, the second note would be to use the media, social media in particular, to really publicize the cause, to publicize the work that the nonprofit organization does.
And quickly, before you go, tell me about your own personal website.
So so if you guys want to check some art with some art with a social justice twist, you can look me up, venusinOrbit.nyc.
Very good. All right, and all that stuff will be on the on my blog as well. So if you got to the podcast another way, you can go to my blog, thebillquinnpodcast.blogspot, and you can find links to everything that we mentioned here today. All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's it. So usually I'm going to try to keep this podcast a little bit shorter, but we had so much to talk about that it was really hard to keep it any shorter than it was right there. So thank you for listening. I'd like to thank, of course, Angela Torregoza and the Sex Worker Project for giving me a chance to speak to them. I'd also like to thank Jacqueline Reyes, who actually connected Angela and I together for this podcast. So thank you, Jacqueline. And if you are a nonprofit organization in New York City and you have an event coming up or you would just like to be featured, please get in contact with me. My website is thebillquinnpodcast.blogspot.com. You can also follow us at Twitter to get updates on the latest episodes at bquinnpodcast. I think that's it. I look forward to having you listen to our next episode, which will be in about a week or so. All right. Have a good night.